The minute I stepped onto the site that morning, I knew something was off. My clipboard wasn't on the tool bench. The stack of printed daily safety checklists I'd prepped the night before, gone. Just an empty corner where they'd been. I scanned the area, then spotted Matt, 26, maybe 27, standing by the container trailer, holding a coffee he probably paid $7 for, laughing with a few of the newer guys. His safety vest looked brand new, like it came straight out of a catalog. "Hey," I said, walking over. "Did someone move the checklists?" He didn't even look up. "Oh, you mean those grandma papers? Yeah, I tossed them. We're using the app now." "Check Slack." I just stared at him. "You threw out hard copies of a required site protocol?" "They were cluttering the bench," he said, waving a hand like he was swatting a fly. "Welcome to the future, Diane. QR codes? AI risk monitors, no more paper pushing. This isn't 2008. Some of the guys chuckled, not because it was funny, but because Matt was the one signing off on ours now. Nobody wanted to get on his bad side. Before we go on, quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I looked around the site, concrete mixers humming, scaffold crews already climbing, no one had checked footing, no buddy walkthrough, no hazard flags placed, nothing. "You know we still have OSHA protocols to follow, right?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "Trust me," he grinned. "The system flags what matters. We don't need someone walking around like it's 1995. He turned back to his phone, fingers flying across the screen, probably posting another workflow vibes update to Slack. Last week, he shared a photo of a half-poured slab and captioned it, "Grinding through the build storm like a disruptor." Disruptor. That's what he called himself in his intro meeting. A construction disruptor. The kid had a degree in something like industrial efficiency and a startup internship on his resume. Zero real job site experience, but now he was project manager because corporate wanted innovation. I didn't say anything else. I didn't argue, just walked back to my truck, pulled out my tablet, and opened a new folder. I titled it Hard Hat Data. Every skipped inspection, every glitch in that dumb app, every ignored lockout. I logged it, screenshot, timestamp, notes, and every night I backed it up to a separate drive at home. Off-site, offline, mine alone. Matt wanted AI to replace field experience? Fine. But I wasn't going to let his tech fantasy become someone's injury report. I slipped my tablet back in the case and headed toward the west scaffolds, already noting 2 unsecured latches and a missing cone near the lift zone. I didn't say a word. I just started documenting. Next morning, 6:45 sharp, I'm standing by the entry gate with my hard hat and clipboard, waiting for the crew to form up for the daily safety walk. Nobody shows. 10 minutes pass, then 15. Finally, I spot Matt strolling over, earbuds in, sipping his coffee like he's headed to brunch. "Where's the team?" I asked. He grinned. "Oh yeah, we're scrapping the morning walks. Drones can do that now." I blinked. "What drones?" "Procurement's working on it," he said, already turning toward the trailer. "Won't need boots on the ground once they're up. And until then?" He tapped his phone. "We've got Slack updates and the site cam feed." So that was it. Just like that, the one process that's kept guys alive on this site for 2 decades, gone, replaced with a wish list and a live stream. By 9 a.m., the ripple effect hit. One of the new hires, Brandon, barely 19, almost walked straight onto an unsecured lift near Trench 4. No cones, no straps. He stopped 2 feet short because I happened to shout. "You want to get crushed before lunch?" I barked, grabbing his vest. He looked spooked. "I thought it was cleared on Slack." Slack, that damn word again. I flagged it, logged the skipped inspection, tagged it lift near Miss 08-02 in my hard hat data folder. By noon, I'd spotted 3 more issues. One scaffold misaligned, crossbars weren't locked in, a bolt bin left wide open 10 feet from a live welding zone, and the kicker? Matt had his tablet out, filming some site flow video for our internal channel. I pulled him aside. "Hey, you've got unsecured hardware in Zone C. If someone trips into that bin..." "Relax," he said, barely glancing up. "The AI flags hazards based on usage data. We're good." "You mean the same AI that couldn't register an unsecured lift this morning?" He rolled his eyes. "Let the system do its job, Diane." You don't need to babysit everything. Babysit, right. Because years of preventing busted knees and hospital runs was just helicopter parenting now. I walked the site solo that afternoon, no checklist in hand, but the whole thing still lived in my head, every bolt, beam, strap, and cone. I stopped by the mixing station to review the concrete load logs and found nothing. Not blank sheets, not digital entries, nothing. I pulled up Slack. Matt, where are the concrete mix logs for zones B and E? He replied 3 minutes later with a thumbs up emoji and, it's all in the cloud. Which cloud? Whose login? What version? No answer. That night, I updated the folder. Missing mix BE logs. I also started color tagging my entries. Red for risk, yellow for drift, green if it got fixed. I knew it was overkill. I did it anyway. Next couple days, the crew got twitchy. You could feel it in the silences. Guys would shoot each other looks when something didn't add up. Wrong equipment, no labels, missed checks. But nobody said anything out loud. One of the older hands, Jerry, caught me near the trailers. Are we still doing buddy system on ladders? I nodded. If you're with me, yeah. He nodded back and didn't say another word. That's how it started. Whisper rules. One set on Slack, full of buzzwords and broken links. The other passed from guy to guy, on the down low. What to check, when to double up, where to steer clear. I was building a shadow process while Matt live tweeted the job like it was a product launch. By Thursday, I had 18 new entries in hard hat data. That didn't include the side conversations, the nervous glances, the half-assed questions. I didn't push the crew. I didn't confront Matt again. I just kept walking, watching, and logging every crack before it turned into a collapse. By Friday, Matt had stopped talking to people entirely. Everything came through Slack. If you wanted a task, a location update, tool request, even water delivery, you had to check the Build Pulse thread. Problem was, none of it made sense out here. On Monday morning, a junior electrician named Travis followed a task update that told him to reroute temporary power lines through the northeast utility shed. Only nobody had flagged the shed as live. The breaker was mislabeled. He touched the wrong terminal and got shocked off his feet. Wasn't fatal, thank God, but the kid was shaking like a leaf. Matt posted a 2-line update in Slack. Tiny glitch in system labeling today. Handled like a champ by Travis. Resilience equals growth. Build better. And then he posted a meme of a guy getting zapped while giving a thumbs up. That's when I snapped a shot of the mislabeled panel, added it to hard hat data, and titled it, Label Shock Incident 08-05. I tagged it red. Around lunch, Lewis found me by the East Trench, out of sight from the cams. He leaned in. I'm not saying this on Slack, but I almost walked into the hoist pit yesterday. No signage. You report it? He glanced around. No way. Matt's got HR on speed dial. He'll call you negative and boom. Week off. No pay. I nodded. Log it in the red notebook. Drop it in my lockbox. We had a system. Whispered safety. I'd placed a locked deposit box inside the trailer tool cage labeled Site Notes. Looked like it was for wrench checkouts. Only a few guys knew the truth. I emptied it nightly. That same week, I flagged a tripping hazard near the service bay. Extension cords tangled through a narrow walkway. Standard stuff. Should have taken 10 minutes to fix. 3 days later, Jerry, the same guy who asked about the buddy system, rolled his ankle stepping over them. No cone, no reroute. I wrote it up, took photos, added it to the file. Tripcord incident Jerry, August 8th. Red tag again. Matt didn't say a word to him. Didn't even log it as a site injury. But Thursday? That one broke me a little. We had a scheduled hazard review meeting. Mandatory, corporate mandated. Matt never showed. Why? His girlfriend came on site with a ring light and a phone mic. Blonde, spray tan, filming him doing fake walkthroughs while he pointed at random beams like he was on a reality show. I watched from 20 yards away while he adjusted her camera angle. The meeting? Skipped. Half the team stood around waiting. Then gave up. I found him after she left. You missed hazard review, I said, holding out the agenda sheet. I know, he said, grinning. But we got some sick behind-the-scenes content. Really shows how innovative we're getting. I folded the paper. We have a loose support beam on grid 5D. It's flagged in 2 reports. Still uninspected. He didn't even blink. If it mattered, the system would have caught it. The system didn't catch the tripping cords, or the mislabeled breaker, or the hoist pit. He smiled wider. You're obsessed with the edge cases, Diane. You gotta learn to let go. Let go? I walk the edge for a living. That night, I added the beam to the file. Loose beam, grid 5, D08-09. Tagged red. I zoomed in on the photo, dry joint, visible crack along the weld line, 0 torque marks. I overlaid it with notes and printed a copy for the physical log, just in case. Meanwhile, Matt posted a Slack message. Love the energy this week. Minor bumps, major grind. Keep building. Ioba, full throttle. I stared at that message until the screen timed out. Full throttle. Right into the wall. Every guy on the crew was playing two games. Follow Slack and stay visible. Follow me and stay alive. It was only a matter of time before the two collided. I just didn't know how loud it would get when they did. The email came that night. Subject line, touch base request from HR. Sent at 7:03 p.m. No context, just a calendar invite for the next morning. Conference room, 2C. I knew what it meant. Still showed up 10 minutes early. HR was already waiting. Two of them, Aaron and someone new. I didn't catch his name. He didn't speak. Diane, Aaron said, smiling too wide. Thanks for coming in. We've had some concerns raised about your adjustment to the new workflow model. I said nothing, just sat there, hands folded. She kept going. There's feedback suggesting you're resisting innovation, struggling to align with project modernization goals. Is that feedback from Matt? I asked. She looked down. We don't disclose sources. Right, I'd seen this script before. She slid a folder across the table. This is a performance improvement plan. We're required to document areas for development. I opened it. First line, employee exhibits rigid behavior in response to evolving technology systems. Second line, fails to demonstrate collaborative mindset during workflow transformation. It read like a termination preamble. They even pre-filled the next review date for 30 days out. You've seen the site logs, right? I asked. The incidents? Aaron nodded slowly. Some hiccups, yes, but nothing that points to systemic failure. I bit my tongue, hard. Do you agree to the plan? She asked. I nodded. Sure. I'll sign it. I scribbled my name, stood up, and walked out without another word. At home, I skipped dinner, pulled out the tablet, opened hard hat data, and started going entry by entry. One by one, I labeled the cracked support joints, the failed anchor point checks, the missing harness verifications, all the things Matt said the system would catch. It hadn't caught a single one. I created a new master folder and titled it Matt Free Safety. Every item went in, annotated, tagged, synced to a private external drive. I kept the original logs intact, but this folder? This was for me. No Slack, no AI filters, just reality. The next morning, I showed up same as always. Vest on, hat tight, clipboard in hand. Nobody knew a thing. Matt strutted into stand-up 10 minutes late with a smoothie and sunglasses. Didn't apologize. Just launched into his usual buzzword dump. We're pivoting to a frictionless compliance model, he said. No more bottlenecks, just smart flow. I nodded, even smiled a little. He looked so proud of himself. Behind him, I could see scaffolding crews waiting for real instructions. Guys leaning on equipment, staring at their phones, trying to figure out if smart flow meant clear the zone or keep working. Matt didn't notice. He rattled on about adaptive learning systems and predictive modeling, like that would fix a cracked load-bearing weld. I didn't say a word, didn't challenge him, just kept standing there, smiling like none of it bothered me. But every night, I added to the folder, and every morning, I showed up like nothing had happened. The site kept moving, but I could feel it in my bones. This wasn't building anymore. It was decay, slow, and silent. And I was the only one tracking it brick by brick. Midweek, around 2 p.m., I heard it. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a low, dragging metallic groan, like something heavy was settling wrong. It came from the West Beam section, Grid 5D. Same area I flagged last week for a loose support. Nobody else seemed to notice, but I stopped walking and waited. It came again, same pitch, same tone. I'd heard it before, on bad pours, when rebar got misaligned and the stress shifted wrong through the load. No sensor alert, no Slack ping. Just that sound, real and wrong. I didn't yell. I didn't run for a walkie. I went to the brake trailer, sat down at the terminal, and typed. Subject, structural sound anomaly, grid 5. D message, heard audible stress, groan near West Beam section. Not flagged by sensors. Strongly recommend half-day delay for structural inspection. Attached are photos, timestamps, and prior flagged issues on same grid from August 9th and August 2nd. I included the sound log entry and a snapshot from earlier that week showing dry concrete seam lines, labeled everything clean and tight. 5 minutes later, Matt replied, appreciate the concern, but we're in the middle of a momentum sprint. Push forward. No greeting, no sign-off. Just those words. I stared at the screen. Then I hit print, printed the email, the reply, the logs, the photos, everything. I took out a red folder and labeled it in Sharpie. When, not if. I slid the documents in, sealed it, and filed it under the seat compartment in my truck. And then I went back to work. No escalation, no confrontation. I said nothing to the crew, not even Luis. I logged it, filed it, and walked the perimeter like always. The hardest part wasn't hearing that groan. It wasn't even Matt's message. It was the silence afterward. The not speaking. The standing still while something screamed in my gut that it wasn't over. That night, I didn't sleep. Just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the printed reply, push forward. Next morning, I clocked in like usual. Vest on, hat tight, clipboard under one arm. Nobody noticed a thing. By break, I was on the back of the site truck, legs hanging off the bed, sipping warm coffee. From there, I had a clean view of Grid 5D. Same beam, same slab, same uneasy silence underneath. Matt walked by at one point, waving his tablet like a baton. "Let's crank up the build velocity," he called out to nobody in particular. He didn't look at me, didn't ask about the report. Just kept moving, walking across a site that had stopped being stable a long time ago. The team was scattered across zones, no coordination, no pre-task briefings. Guys guessing what to do based on last night's Slack updates. I sat there and watched. Every 10 minutes, I'd glance at the beam section, waiting to hear that sound again. But it didn't come. Only thing louder than the groan was the silence around it, how nobody wanted to admit the tension building beneath the surface. I could feel it. The hum before something gives. But I didn't shout. I didn't storm the trailer or call corporate. I just kept logging. Monday morning, sky was clear, sun already baking the gravel by 8 o'clock. I was posted near the perimeter fence by Grid 5D, drinking burnt coffee and tracking noise patterns in my head. At 10:21 a.m., the sound cut through everything. Not the groan this time, a shriek, like steel being ripped sideways through concrete. Heads snapped up, a crowbar dropped, then the ground under Grid 5D lurched. The temporary support rig gave out, left side first. The concrete slab shifted fast, violent and wrong. Tension cables snapped one after the other like whip cracks. "Move!" I yelled, already sprinting. The dust went up before the slab even hit. A boom followed by a metal crunch, then chaos. People scattered, screaming. Two guys dove behind a generator. A hard hat skidded across the dirt. Tools flew out of open bins like shrapnel. The slab dropped, hit, twisted, and landed misaligned across the trench. The whole left edge cracked against the retaining frame, crushing both lift carts parked below. One of them exploded in sparks. Someone yelled for foam. Then came the sirens. Piercing, automated. Too late. Safety foam erupted from trench pipes, white spray flooding the zone, coating everything from boots to helmets. I heard coughing. Someone retched. Radios crackled in every direction. But the backup warning system, the one designed to trigger the zone lock before a slab shift, never activated. I knew why. Matt had downgraded the sync protocol 2 weeks ago. Said it was non-essential. He used that word. I remembered. I had it in writing, logged, labeled. Site management screamed over radios. HR popped out of their trailer and rushed toward the gate, already forming a huddle like they were planning a statement before the smoke even cleared. Crew members yelled Matt's name. No answer. One guy ran toward the containers. Another checked inside the brake trailer. I didn't move. I stood just outside the foam zone, wind pushing dust against my vest, watching a year's worth of warnings slam into the dirt. Luis appeared from the other side of the trench, eyes wide, face streaked white. "You see Matt?" he asked. "Nope." "Shit's coming down," he muttered, looking around. "Yup." We didn't say anything else. I walked toward the safety table, just outside the perimeter, untouched. The one spot nobody ever used except for paperwork and clipboards that got ignored. I reached into my bag, pulled out the red folder, when not if. No ceremony, no speech. I placed it flat on the table, squared the edges, and stepped back. Photos, logs, audio clips, labeled timestamps, concrete stress indicators, dry joint overlays. Every ignored report, every reply Matt brushed off, all inside. I turned and walked 10 steps away. Didn't pace, didn't check Slack. HR stayed frozen near the gate. A few of them were on their phones. One had a walkie, the other was visibly shaking. Still no Matt. Someone shouted near the far trailers. Luis ran that way. I didn't. The trench was flooded now, foam spilling out, swirling with dust and concrete grit. A busted power line sparked on the edge, cut off just short of the safety fencing. Another guy, Raymond, one of our riggers, stared at the mess from the hoist ladder. Jesus, he said quietly. That thing came down like it wanted to kill someone. I nodded once. It was ready. He looked at me. You knew? I flagged it. Last week. And this morning. His mouth opened, then closed. He turned back toward the mess, silent. I stood there, boots dug in, arms crossed. Nobody approached me. Nobody told me what to do. For once, nobody talked over me. The foam settled slow, like it didn't want to leave either. Above it all, that slab sat crooked, angled like a warning, misaligned and dead center where it never should have been. And right there at the edge of it all, 10 yards from disaster, was that safety table, my red folder glowing under the sun. By 11:40 a.m., a black SUV rolled through the gate. No badge scan, no announcement, just a sudden hush that moved through the crew like cold air. The CEO climbed out alone, no assistant, no clipboard. Dressed in a dark windbreaker, slacks, boots that hadn't touched a job site in years, but still knew where to step. He looked like he'd just left a war room and walked straight into our mess without changing tone. He didn't ask questions, didn't even slow down. He walked the entire West End, stepped over power lines, through foam, past the ruined slab without flinching. Took it all in like he'd been expecting worse. Matt spotted him from across the scaffold zone and jogged over, tablet in hand, hair still perfect. Sir, Matt said, already breathless, just want to say, huge respect for coming out. We had a minor sync issue this morning. AI pipeline didn't flag as substructural. The CEO didn't stop, didn't look at him, just kept walking straight past him, heading toward the brake trailer like he knew exactly where he was going. Matt followed, stammering. We're confident it's a one-off. The resilience protocols did kick in late stage, and we're recalibrating the... The CEO stopped at the trash can beside the trailer. He reached in, no gloves, no hesitation. Pulled out one laminated sheet, edges worn. A few coffee stains on the back. My checklist. He held it up, looked at it in silence. Then, without a word, he flipped it over. Page 1, then page 2, then 3. Read every section. Didn't rush. The entire crew had gone still. Nobody moved. Guys frozen mid-step, watching him read like it was court. Finally, he turned toward Matt. This checklist ran this site without one safety flag for how long? Matt froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. His eyes darted to me, then back to the CEO. Well, I mean, it's a legacy protocol, so before optimization... How long? Matt swallowed. 18 years. The CEO nodded once, then turned to me. You kept a backup? I looked him dead in the eye. Yes, sir. Photos, logs, audio files. All annotated, all off-site. He didn't blink, just said, finish your report. That was it. He didn't ask for a tour, didn't want a summary. Just walked past Matt again, this time without a single glance, and headed toward the safety table. Luis stepped back to let him through. A couple of the younger guys followed behind, quiet, watching. The CEO picked up the red folder, opened it, started flipping through the pages right there in the open. One log, then another, then the reply from Matt. Push forward. He held it up, read it aloud, then tucked it back into the folder, closed it, and tucked it under his arm like evidence in a trial. He didn't say another word, didn't need to. Matt looked pale. The crew? They knew exactly what just happened. Nobody clapped, nobody cheered. But in the dead quiet that followed, the balance shifted. And Matt? He didn't look like the guy running the job anymore. About an hour later, one of the HR suits found me by the staging trailer and told me the CEO wanted to speak with me privately. I followed them down the hall of the admin unit, past the meeting rooms nobody used anymore, until we reached a door that looked like it hadn't been opened in years. The HR guy turned the knob, pushed it open, then left without a word. The CEO was already inside. No windows, just a dusty conference table, one working light overhead, and a stack of printouts laid out in front of him like a crime scene. He didn't look up at first, just kept flipping through a set of photos, cracked joints, dry-weld seams, mislabeled breakers, one after another. Finally, he spoke. I've seen all your logs, photos, timestamps, audio recordings. He didn't raise his voice, didn't smile. You didn't shout, he said. You didn't throw anyone under the bus. You just did the work. I nodded once. He leaned forward, laced his fingers. I want you reporting directly to me from now on. New title: full oversight on site safety and process integrity. You'll have the authority to overrule anyone on hazard-related calls. No chain of command, just a direct line. I stared at him for a beat. So, Matt's fired? He shook his head. Not yet. My jaw tightened, but I stayed quiet. He's not making decisions anymore, the CEO said. He'll shadow you, observe, not lead. No more Slack directives, no more workflows. If he's smart, he'll learn something. I crossed my arms. I want a new desk. He laughed, for the first time. You'll get an office, Diane, with a door. I looked around the dusty room. Couldn't remember the last time I felt still. No noise in my head, no checklist flashing behind my eyes. No second-guessing every decision. Just quiet. I'll take it, I said. He stood and extended his hand. I shook it. You'll start tomorrow, he said. We're clearing out the second-floor office above structural. We'll issue your badge this afternoon. I turned to leave. As I reached the door, he called out, Diane? I glanced back. You saved this site. I didn't say anything, just gave him a nod and stepped out. The next morning, I unlocked the door to my new office at 6:55. It wasn't fancy. Cement floors, old vent humming overhead, but it had glass walls. From my chair, I could see almost the entire west and north sections of the site. I set my coffee down, pulled open the file cabinet, and laid out the stack. Freshly printed, laminated checklists, versioned, color-coded, annotated. Section A, site preparation. Section B, rigging. Section C, harness verification. Every item line-tested against real-world conditions. The same system that ran without a shutdown for 18 years, now sharper, leaner, mine. By 7:30, the crew started showing up. No one needed to be called. No one looked confused. At 8 o'clock, I walked the team through the first checklist. Everyone followed along. Jerry nodded after every bullet. Luis asked 2 solid questions. One guy, Devin, I think, flagged a missing ladder brace on the east scaffold. Not one complaint. Not one eye roll. Nobody asked about Slack. At 9:15 sharp, I heard the knock. I didn't need to look. I already knew. Come in, I said. Matt stepped inside. Plain clothes, no badge, no tablet, just a cheap spiral notebook and a pen. He looked like he hadn't slept, maybe hadn't eaten, probably just came from some HR debrief. No lanyard, no watch. The disruptor vibe was gone. I didn't offer a seat. You'll be shadowing me for 90 days, I said, flat. Take notes. Speak when spoken to. He nodded once, eyes down. I walked past him and out to the job site. He followed, staying a step behind. We moved through Zone B, then C, reviewing support beam placements, torque checks, rigging zones. Every time someone had a question, they came to me. Diane, does this pass clearance for the second lift? Diane, what's the rule on joint seal timing after a temperature drop? I answered quick, direct, clear. Matt stayed silent, took notes. We reached the trench edge around 11 o'clock. Luis showed up with a coffee and handed it to me. Extra strong, he said, grinning. You look like you're back in charge. I took it. I am. He nodded, gave Matt a quick glance, then walked off. Near the trailers, Jerry stepped over. Hey, Diane, think we can bring back buddy walkthroughs? You know, like the old days? We already are, I said. Section D4, starting this week. He grinned like someone had just told him we got a bonus. Matt wrote it down. By noon, I'd watched him scribble at least 4 pages. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to spin anything, just followed. When we circled back toward the safety table, I caught him pausing near it. His eyes landed on a laminated chart. Fall zones, common failures. He stared for a beat, then wrote something down. By the time we wrapped the day's walkthrough, I'd rebuilt 3 procedures he'd gutted: labeling, lockout protocols, and PPE audits. The team moved smoother, faster. Nobody asked for digital anything, just facts, rules, and clarity. I stepped back into my office around 4 o'clock, dropped my notes, sipped the now cold coffee, and looked out through the glass. The site looked steady again. Crews in sync, no confusion, no chaos. Matt was still outside by the scaffold zone, alone, writing something. He hadn't said a word all day. I watched him for a few seconds. Then, just once, I smiled. Small, quiet, but satisfying. 3 days later, they called a site-wide meeting. No screens, no slides, no music. Just folding chairs packed tight in the training trailer. Every hard hat from every zone accounted for. The air was thick with quiet. Then the CEO walked in. Same windbreaker, same steady pace. He stood at the front with one thing in his hand, my checklist, laminated, the top corner still curled from use. He held it up. Someone once called this outdated, he said, not loud, not dramatic, just enough for the silence to fall a little deeper. This list, he continued, ran this site for 18 years. Not one shutdown, not one structural injury, not one slab out of alignment. He flipped it once, held it open like a guidebook. No AI, no app, no buzzwords. Just people who knew what mattered and checked every box, every day, without shortcuts. Then he stepped to the wall near the front of the room, pulled back a tarp. Behind it, a plaque. Black steel plate, silver letters, mounted just above eye level. The Keller Protocol, donated by Diane Keller, operations lead beneath it. My checklist, framed behind glass, locked in, real, untouchable. For a second, nobody moved. Then came the clapping. Not loud, not fast, but deep, from the chest. The kind of applause that doesn't need a cheer to carry weight. The CEO stepped back, arms behind his back. He didn't say Matt's name, didn't have to. Everyone knew. I stood at the back of the trailer, arms crossed, watching the whole thing. Not smiling, not crying, just still. Because this wasn't revenge anymore, it was proof, and it was permanent.